Good evening, everybody. If you have just tuned in, this program, The Dhabas of Democracy, is coming to you from a little village in Maharashtra called Kalamgaon. And I was just saying, and just wait for me, don't play any pictures. Let me talk a little bit about where I am. I was just saying that while primetime shows are occupied with the tutu meme between the BJP and the Congress, when you travel, as we've been traveling on this road trip from Kanyakumari to making our way to Kashmir, and we've traveled through all of the southern states, and we've just left Telangana and entered Maharashtra, you come to villages like this one, and you actually realize that for so many people, these elections have a very different context, a very different meaning. For example, where I'm sitting in Kalamgaon, people I've met here say they don't want to vote. It's really, really hot. There is no source of water. There is no proper water supply. Women have to walk for miles and miles to get a pot of water. And all the people I met here said that they do not want to vote because every election season they hear the same promise, and that promise is never delivered on. So before we get into the BJP versus Congress battles, I thought I'd talk a little bit about where I am today. So thank you for listening. I'm Barkha Dutt, you're with the Mojo Story, and now let's get to the political headline of the day. The Prime Minister has in fact written a letter to all of the BJP candidates ahead of phase 3 of the elections. He is saying that this is no ordinary election. He's in fact making the argument that every candidate should make the voters aware of what he's calling the regressive, quote unquote, the regressive campaign of the Congress. He's once again doubled down and tripled down on what he's calling the Congress proposal to impose a Muslim quota. There is no such mention, it should be said, in the Congress manifesto. All of this is happening after a day of acute embarrassment for the BJP and the JDS in Karnataka, when the son of the former Prime Minister Devi Gowda has been found accused of rape, sexual abuse, and filming all of it on nearly 3,000 exploitative videos. The victims include household health and government officials. And of course, I'm talking about Devi Gowda's grandson, not son. So just correcting myself there. But the Prime Minister in his letter is making inheritance tax and the Muslim quota. He says that the Congress is going to take the reservations away from SC/STs and in fact give them to Muslims. The manifesto does not mention it, but in the past, in the Manmohan Singh government years, there was indeed a proposal to create this kind of sub-quota within the OBC group. So in this war of narratives, who's ahead, who's behind? Remember that the Congress has yet again failed to take a decision on who will be contesting from Rai Bareli and Amethi. A lot to talk about. Just wanted to talk a little bit about Kalamgaon, where I am. So sorry for the delay. Let's introduce our guests on the program today as we look at the political churn that is taking place, the charges and the counter charges. Let's bring up our guests as we introduce them. Dilip Cherian, who's of course a brand guru, an image consultant, a communication specialist, is with us. Welcome to the program. Tavleen Singh, whose columns on the Congress are creating quite a stir, and the Congress is really going after her for those, but she's not one to back out, is with us as well. Sugata Srinivasaraju, author and well-known journalist, the author of a book on Rahul Gandhi called Strange Burden, is with us, and Tehseen Poonawalla, never say die supporter of the Congress, is with us as well. Let's get started by playing out a clip of the Prime Minister speaking in Maharashtra.
आप जो कमाते हैं उसका एक्सरे करेंगे। आपके लॉकर का एक्सरे होगा, अंदर क्या पड़ा है। आपके घर का एक्सरे होगा, अंदर क्या पड़ा है। ये कांग्रेस के महाशय कह रहे हैं कि इनहेरिटेंस टैक्स लगाने की सोच रहे हैं।
So the Prime Minister is doubling, tripling down on inheritance tax, on Muslim quota, and let's get the ball rolling. I know Tavleen has a whole column on this, but Tehseen, the fact is I did my homework, and indeed in the UPA years, based on the Ranganath Mishra report, there was talk of a Muslim quota. In states like Andhra Pradesh, when it was governed by the Congress, there was an announcement of a 5% Muslim quota. Now this has become, for some reason, the BJP's key issue in this election. Do you think that Rahul Gandhi made a fatal error when he spoke about a Desh ka X-ray, because you heard the Prime Minister punning on that. Do you think the Congress made a fatal error when they made comments like jitni abadi utna hak? Because that does suggest a kind of recalibration of the reservation policy.
Good evening, Barkha. Thank you for having me. Let's understand it's a very complex issue. So the answer can't be black or white. Did Rahul Gandhi ji make an error? No. Certainly, he could have articulated it much better. I give it to that, and that has been a problem in the Congress articulation. So let's go step by step. First of all, there has been talks of an inheritance tax and an estate tax put by the great mass leader Sam Petroda, who I think if you friends like that, sometimes you don't really need enemies. And I joked about it very well. Sam to jaki hai, Mani Shankar abhi baki hai. So they always put the foot in the mouth and they get the Congress into trouble. But look, this inheritance tax and this estate tax, all of this was even debated by Arun Jaitley ji, a good friend of yours, of Tavleen, of Dilip out here. It was debated by Jayant Sinha ji. So governments will always debate these things. That's how it is. It does not mean it has to be implemented. But yes, Sam Petroda did score a goal. There's no doubt about it. The Congress manifesto doesn't talk about it. It's not there. It's not going to happen. So then what is Rahul Gandhi talking about? Now, I read Tavleen's column. It was a very nice column. It does bring out fear about what the Congress is the Congress that's left. But that actually isn't quite true on what has been articulated in the manifesto and what has been said by people. What the Congress is promising is the following. And this is what Rahul Gandhi actually said. He said this quite decently. He said, look, we will do a caste census. We will understand where and which sections of society are extremely poor. And what we will then redistribute is government jobs and opportunity and government resources. He's very clear on this. Had I been Rahul Gandhi or had I been writing Rahul Gandhi's speeches, I would have then put the caste survey in Bihar showed that there are sections of Pandits, Brahmins, who are more backward than, say, Muslims or Dalits. They too must get opportunities. So this articulation hasn't happened, but that's what the caste survey in Bihar has shown. So that would have saved us from Tavleen's column, because Tavleen made a very valid point, because it does come in that way. So I think the articulation, but that's not in the Congress manifesto. Now to the third part that you're reading, and this is what I want to end with. It broke my heart to hear, and it's breaking my heart to see the Prime Minister double down on what is absolute fake news. And I realized this, that when somebody is absolutely weak, he doesn't have a strong point, he can't talk about what he did for 10 years. You double down, you speak a lot of things that are not true, you make up stuff, you talk about everything from Nehru to Aurangzeb to the past, to Salman Khurshid. Why aren't you talking about the 10 years of your government? Because I think he's in trouble. He realizes this the first to face. It's not really the Congress, it's the people of India that are genuinely scared that if this government gets 400 seats again, the constitution will be scared. Barkha, believe you me, every single bureaucrat that I'm meeting, every single bureaucrat who's serving, they're scared that 400, the constitution will be saved. Every single, without exception. They may be favorable to the BJP. That fear is very real. That's why the Prime Minister's clarified this 2-3 times. And this doubling down of taking people's mangalsutras, giving it to Ghuspetias, the question should be asked to the Prime Minister simply this. If there are Ghuspetias after 10 years, why are you still Prime Minister? You should have stepped down. And Tavleen, do we add this in your column sometime? That why is he talking about Ghuspetias if he's Prime Minister for 10 years? Secondly, you know when women's Mangalsutras went, when daughters lost their fathers, when sons lost their mothers during COVID, where he forced people to pay on oxygen, on which he charged GST. I think he should be answerable for that. He should be answerable for what is happening with the heart attack pandemic in the country. Rather than answering those questions, the Prime Minister has chosen to divert attention because he has nothing to speak about of his 10 years. And that is the sign of a weak Prime Minister. But I do concede to the point, the Congress needs to be better articulate, and I hope they take advice from Dilip at least.
Okay, let me bring in Tavleen. Tavleen, your columns have attracted a lot of attention. Tehseen says the Prime Minister is propagating fake news. At the heart of this whole debate is fake news. These are some of your columns. You met nobody in rural India who saw Modi as corrupt and autocratic. Rahul Gandhi is again tripling down on how this election is all about saving democracy. You say that doesn't have any resonance on the ground. You also spoke about the Congress's inheritance tax. But the point that Tehseen is making is that the Prime Minister is campaigning on something that the Congress manifesto doesn't say. The Congress communication may be muddled. Rahul Gandhi may be saying something off script, but effectively the manifesto doesn't say what the Prime Minister says it's saying. Yet he seems to mention it in every speech. Go ahead, Tavleen, do respond.
look, on the Muslim quota, the way that he's making this Tushtikaran rubbish into an issue, it shames him. He should be careful about that. Because, we all know that the Congress treated the Muslims as a vote bank. The Muslims are among the most backward communities in India. And if they're given a little bit of help, or if somebody says that, and Manmohan Singh actually did not say that they have first right. He said backward communities do. So, I think that he is absolutely wrong to do. In my column where I said that the people that I met didn't see him as autocratic and corrupt, what I meant was it wasn't an issue with them. The reason why they said they would be voting for the BJP was because he's delivered things that they never had before. That's the context in which I said that. I didn't see anyone who thought that autocracy or the constitution or, that I didn't meet, maybe I met the wrong people, but I haven't met anyone. I've also met a lot of people who, like you in that village, say that they haven't delivered on basics, right? Now, Tehseen, you need to ask the Congress party why 75 years after independence, we're still talking about roti, kapda, makan, pani. It's shameful. Now, Modi has not done enough in the past 10 years. He should have done a lot more. But, it shames us all as Indians that we're still talking about water. Do you know, I live actually, I have an Adivasi community in the village in which I live, and which is also in Maharashtra. I asked them, what do you want? And they said, water. The well is dry. They have to buy water from tankers. This is shameful. And they also, they said they didn't want to vote for Modi because they were hoping that at least in this past 10 years that would have happened. And, it'll go against him that it hasn't in some villages, but in many villages it has. There are pipes being laid in the villages that I've gone to. Roads are being broken in Uttar Pradesh, where I never expected any kind of development. And there are pipes being laid for water. There are schools that have really smartened up so much that, people don't feel the need for private schools in some of those villages. So, there has been welfare. And it's because of that. I was just trying to make the point that they didn't think that he was an autocrat in that way, that they didn't think of that as the issue in this election. What people have really are very conscious of is they want change. They call it Vikas. Basically, they want politicians to deliver on their promises.
Can I ask you, though, before I go to Dilip and Sugata, what do you make of Modi writing a letter to all the candidates saying this is not an ordinary election? It's intriguing. There's been a lot of discussion about the turnout, how in some of the Hindi heartland areas the turnout has been higher. The drop in turnout has been higher than the average drop. That the BJP is anxious. That's why it's pivoted to the Muslim issue again. Now you have praised Modi for some issues, but you're not a fan of his or the government's politics on Hindu-Muslim issues. When you see the Muslim quota being such a center stage issue, what do you say?
I think it's very wrong. I just said that already. I said that, for the Prime Minister to make that an issue, you're taking a community that has suffered terrible deprivation because they've been treated as a vote bank by the Congress party, a vote bank to which nothing has been delivered. The vast majority of Muslims have nothing. And so, the BJP should have used that to deliver to the Muslims the benefits that they should have as a backward community. Sorry. So, but I think that the Prime Minister making an issue out of it shames him. The Prime Minister of India should not be talking like that.
War of narratives, Dilip. You're a master of this. Where do we stand? Let's look at something that happened just yesterday. That for some reason should have lasted longer in the headlines. Not for some reason. It should have absolutely lasted longer in the headlines than it has. And I'm talking about, of course, what happened with Prajwal Revanna, Devi Gaura's grandson. And I just want to play out for you what Priyanka Gandhi is saying, and then I'll get you to respond right away. Take a look.
मैं उनसे पूछना चाहती हूँ कि आज कर्नाटका में एक बहुत बड़ी बात निकली है कि उनके साथ जो मंच पे खड़े थे जिनके लिए मोदी जी ने वोट मांगा, उन्होंने हजारों महिलाओं के साथ दुष्कर्म किया, हजारों महिलाओं के साथ। मैं पूछना चाहती हूं मोदी जी क्या कहते हैं इसके बारे में, क्या कहते हैं हमारे प्रधानमंत्री इसके बारे में, हमारे गृह मंत्री क्या कहते हैं इसके बारे में। कुछ समय पहले 3 दिनों के लिए मैं अपनी बेटी से मिलने गई। प्रधानमंत्री जी, गृह मंत्री जी बोलने लगे कि प्रियंका गांधी विदेश में गई है। जहां मैं जाती हूं इनको पता चल जाता है, जहां विपक्ष के नेता जाते हैं इनको पता चल जाता है, लेकिन इस तरह का अपराधी, इस तरह का राक्षस इस देश को छोड़ के चले जाता है और इनको पता नहीं चलता। हम कैसे यकीन कर सकते हैं इस बात पर? सब चीज, हर जानकारी इनके पास जाती है। सब नेताओं पे ये ध्यान रखते हैं कौन कहां जा रहा है, क्या कर रहा है, और इतना बड़ा अपराध करके इनके नाक के सामने कोई देश से भाग गया और ये कुछ नहीं कह रहे हैं।
You're frozen, Barkha. Barkha, we can't hear you. Can you hear me? No, I think we should go on.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay.
Yes.
So let me ask you this, Dilip. Why is this not a bigger part of the narrative than everything else? In what of narratives, how is the Congress doing? How is the BJP doing?
I think in terms of narrative, if we look at just the most urgent and current W's, the W of women, water, which Tavleen mentioned, and worry, which the Prime Minister highlights in his letter. If you look at these three, I think the fact is that the current narrative as we go into phase 3 is one where there are question marks about multiple things that the BJP is either accused of or claiming credit for. So, the water question is not just a simple matter of women needing to go and get water. It actually completely discredits the idea that you have been able to give toilets in every village or every home. So it is at multiple levels that these things are resounding. But the Prajwal Revanna story is not anywhere near dead. I think the Prime Minister's worry letter is about trying to get Ravanna off the headlines. I think the idea is that they want it to make, they want this letter to try and take the evening's headlines in a different direction. Devegowda's grandson escaping from India is definitely something that needs and will reverberate among the women of India wherever they are. It doesn't matter where they are. They're all going to sense that if 3,000 videos of women being raped are available, then the actual numbers involved will be far more. So you're really talking of huge numbers, and you're talking of a women's issue which will be front and central depending on any party's ability to raise it.
Sugata, then on the one hand, you have this very, very powerful issue of what's happened with women in Prajwal Revanna. On the other hand, you have the Prime Minister repeatedly hammering home, one, कि ये आपके घर का एक्सरे करा के आपकी संपत्ति ले जाएंगे, they'll take away your property. Two, that they're going to take away the quotas that exist and give it to Muslims, right? And this is a contestation of narratives. Of course, I should say that Revanna goes beyond narratives. I don't really care who supports which political party. I think we should judge it on its own issues. But since this program is about narratives and how, who's doing how, what do you make of Modi's letter?
Thank you, Barkha. See, it's Modi's letter. You watched Modi's campaign for 20 years, right? There is a certain sophistry that is always employed, and there is always that hard work which he tries to emphasize that he is putting in to sort of win over people. So it's part of that. I don't really attach a lot of importance to the letter, because the letter is again trying to tell that we are trying to communicate hard, work hard, and you don't have to drop your guard now. We are still in the third phase. So that's the usual communication that the BJP always does, and I don't see this as a kind of an exceptional letter or something like that. And when it comes to Modi's narrative, yes, there's a great deal of exaggeration. I mean, he tries to put things out of context. There is shameless communalism. All of that is true. But my question to the Congress party is, you've watched him campaign for 20 years. He has been in the political scene actively for 20 years. And what is it that you're doing for 20 years to counter his sophistry? You are always on the back foot. You are only fact checking him. You are only reacting to him. So then why? I mean, you are reacting, and how? You're reacting through a technocratic idiom always. You don't use the political idiom at all. And your technocratic idiom comes out, and your political idiom gets represented through people like Sam Pitroda, through Jairam Ramesh. Look at the kind of tweets that go out, the kind of whatever Modi is culturally putting across to a large mass of people is getting converted through his language. He is trying to, the moment Congress does something, they immediately say, Dekho Modi ji ne ye kaha tha, and look at what the Congress is saying. So they make those connections, and Modi has learned that idiom to make those connections between what the Congress says and the apprehensions of people. And I agree with Dilip ji that the Revanna issue is not dead. It is actually, today again, it's taken a new turn in Karnataka, where D.K. Shivkumar has been brought into the picture, because the lawyer who handed it over to whatever he has quoted, he has said it was given to D.K. Shivkumar. So the questions that the BJP is posing today, yesterday they were on the back foot. Today they've gone on the front foot, and they're saying you knew about it for 3 months. You were waiting for elections to come, and you're using it during 3 days before the elections. And also, Barkha, there's another point. See, when you speak of Prajwal Revanna or Neha Hiremat, the girl who was stabbed to death by a Muslim boy, which is a more polarizing issue in Karnataka. And I think the Prajwal Revanna issue has been brought to as some kind of a counterbalance. And another factual thing is, who gave the number 3,000 videos is still a question. The investigating officer has not spoken. The lawyers have not spoken. The government spokespersons have not spoken. So who planted the idea of 3,000 videos is a big question. Anyway, all of that will come out. But he has to be punished. He has to, it's beyond what you said is a political issue. It is shamelessness. But there is also something that Modi ji is trying to connect. He is trying to say that, look, dynasts develop this kind of entitlement. Dynasts become arrogant. Dynasts, play around with their money, and they think they can exploit people. Actually, that narrative is working for Modi more than it is working for the BJP. There is an implied kind of a thing which is working against the BJP. So the moment he says that dynast does this, Deve Gowda's party is too small for Modi to be worried about. It is just 3 seats. But then what happens to the larger dynastic argument? So these are some of the bigger issues. And, Revanna or Neha Hiremat, they all get converted into larger community identities when inside the polling booth. When we look at the pan-India thing, we just pick the argument and narrative, Barkha. But people, when they vote, they connect it with their religion, they connect it with their caste, they connect it with their, courtyard and backyard and front yard, and they make all kinds of connections. It's a very complex thing, how people decide to vote for somebody. I think that's
I think those are all good points. But let's also shift gear to another point in discussion: the absence of a Congress candidate in Amethi and Raebareli. Today, the decision was meant to come. It is once again being postponed. Tehseen, can you tell us at all what's actually going on here?
Before that, I just want to put 2 points in mind that I completely agree on what the earlier speaker said on the Congress's response. And this is something I've always told you, that the Congress always responds. It doesn't take things on the front foot, and it's extremely technocratic, and it's not political, the response. And that is extremely worrying for me. An issue like Revanna's issue, forget the politics, it's a humanity issue, right? So the Congress should have been on the front foot. And I don't know how many people even know this, that there was no lawyer who gave any pen drive. It was actually the driver who gave it, and he gave it to the BJP candidate, to the BJP leader, who actually in 2023 wrote to the party that we cannot have a tie-up. Yet the BJP has managed to put Congress on the dock, and that's because the Congress communication is such a disaster. Everything wrong here is the BJP. I mean, if he left the country and got, what is DK Siddaramaiah going to do? Who controls the airports? It's the BJP government. Vijay Mallya ran away. Neerav Modi ran away.
No, but DK Shivakumar could have investigated it. The police, they could have announced the special investigative committee then, not wait for the elections to do it. But I mean, I take your point that the BJP is answerable, 100%. But the Congress is also answerable if they knew and did nothing about it.
I'll tell you now, I can predict what Modi and Amit Shah ji and Modi ji will do now. Mark my words. They will now bring Priyanka Gandhi into the equation, and they'll say Priyanka ji went to Hathras. They will do that, and they will now make Priyanka ji. So you see, this is how they play. You have to think like Modi ji to beat Modi ji. The Congress thinks like the names the gentleman took, and therefore they don't win. You have to think like Modi ji to win. Modi ji will bring in Priyanka Gandhi. Mark my words. Which now comes to the second question: what happens in Amethi and Raebareli? Now, Wayanad got over. You obviously, if you're going to get into the fight, it has to be now. Any further delay is now giving the BJP an advantage. You could have waited, said first phase, we have a thing. Now the BJP is now started to say that it'll get scared. Now, even if you jump into the fray, it will look like you are pressured to do it. Politics is not so much about doing the right thing. It's about showing that you're doing the right thing. It's about timing. Timing is everything in politics. If you get the timing wrong, and all of you guys are very experienced, the battle is lost. You got to be there. You got to be assertive. You got to be making your mark. So I think the Congress either ways has to make up their mind. What are they doing with Amethi Raebareli? How are they going to get into the fight? Who's going to fight what? It cannot be held back for a last minute till bureaucracy clears it. That cannot work. You can only do political posturing this far. Beyond that, it starts affecting you. So it's okay, even if you feel that, listen, we're going to win Raebareli, Amethi is a tough fight. Honestly, get in there and fight. It doesn't matter. Ultimately, what matters is, are you in parliament or no? It doesn't matter what is the end result of the fight. Don't be afraid of the fight. People in India love gloves off. People in India love people punching. The minute you try and make this too technical or too bureaucratic or too systematic, people don't like it. Get in and get in the fight.
Let's get responses to that. Tavleen, does it matter that there's no Amethi and Raebareli candidate announced? Like, what does it signify?
Of course it matters. It signifies a lack of leadership. These are leaders of the Congress party, the two most important leaders of the Congress party in their home borough, I mean, where their family has fought for so long. So what is being conveyed to, even in Uttar Pradesh, by the way, I was there not long ago, and they said Priyanka could win Raebareli. And they were actually, this was a BJP guy who said to me, Priyanka has a very good chance of winning Raebareli. What are they waiting for? And as for Rahul, there's a time to lead. I keep saying this, he's supposed to be a leader. You can't run away from the constituency that elected your father and your uncle, etc. Go in there and fight. Tehseen's right. Because it really looks as if they're running scared.
Dilip, the last time we were talking about this, you said knowing Rahul, he would not want to actually contest from Amethi. He would prefer to stay on in Wayanad. If he does contest from Amethi, it will be because the party forces him, the political ecosystem forces him. But I think what's terrible is the indecision. And, the party, when Rahul Gandhi is asked about it, he says this is a BJP question. That's why I asked Tavleen, does it matter? Does it matter in the larger picture?
The answer is that if you allow Priyanka to fight, or if Priyanka expresses a desire to fight, either way, the immediate narrative will be so many family members aiming to be in parliament. If Rahul decides to fight, it will be he's running away from Wayanad without any show of courtesy, and he's announcing this after he has waited for the dates of Wayanad voting to be over. So it's it's a win-win either way for the BJP if we follow this narrative. The idea is that you want to make sure that the narrative focuses on 10 years of governance or inability to govern, and not allow the narrative to be UP will be decided by which family members fight in which family boroughs. If family boroughs need to be defended, and if they are indeed as powerful as they are, they should be able to nominate somebody on the 3rd of May and still win the constituency. That is what should be done. But if you have if you have Sonia Gandhi in the Rajya Sabha already, and if two Gandhi scions are seen in the fight, then you're clearly adding to the bigger narrative of the BJP, which is dynastic rule. So I have a feeling that I totally agree with you that indecision is stupid, indecision is damaging, but indecision is not something that is under debate here. What is debatable is whether both of them need to fight their pocket boroughs.
Okay, Tehseen, quickly, then I want to go to Sugata and we'll take last comments after that. Tehseen?
I generally agree with what Dilip says, but here I firmly disagree. Look, come what may. Barkha, look, ask yourself as a journalist, so ask Tavleen, is the BJP going to stop attacking Priyanka Gandhi and Rahul because they didn't fight and say they are not dynastic? That's their strong point. But now, not only are they calling them dynastic, they're calling them coward dynastics. That's the problem. So in a fight, always I use this term, BD alpha, get down, get dirty. If they, वो 10 मारेंगे आप एक मारो, but मारो, भागो मत. आप भागोगे वो आपको कायर कहेंगे. Get down and get dirty. It's okay. Nothing will happen. And I'm telling you, Priyanka will win Raebareli. This business of not sending is not good. Let her fight Raebareli.
Sugata, also there's this, I've heard 3 people in this show say if Priyanka is allowed, are we raising, and I think you raised this once on my program, that when Robert Vadra was making all those comments about volunteering himself, that maybe what he was doing was staking claim to his wife's political inheritance. This is also going to lead to speculation that all is not necessarily well, that Priyanka doesn't have equal rights, but Dilip has a point. They're damned if they do, they're damned if they don't, but they've got to do something one way or the other.
That's right, Barkha.
Sugata, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I can hear you, Barkha. Yeah, I mean, I agree with Tehseen, which is that they should have gone on the front foot and said we are contesting these seats, and the family has been always nurtured by these constituents, so we'll go back to them. So they should have said that, whether Rahul Gandhi wanted to look at Wayanad or some other constituency, they should have said upfront that these 2 seats belong to us and we'll go and contest. They didn't do that. They drifted. The narrative got built up, and now they have come to the situation that Dilip ji was so nicely describing to us. They do it, they're damned, and they don't do it, they're damned. But I personally feel, I completely agree with, I completely stand by what I told you last time, which is this: there is an inheritance issue. Everybody knows what is going to happen after June 2024. Who is going to lead the Congress? See, Mr. Kharge is not going to be there forever. He's already 80 plus. And you know that Rahul Gandhi cannot make a legitimate stake towards it. And so there is a claiming of inheritance. So I will continue to say that there is a triangular contest inside the family as to who should contest which seat and how much of leeway should be given to which person inside the family. So there is a triangular contest. There is a claim to inheritance, which is very, very real. And it's very, if they've not announced it to this point, there can't be anything else, Barkha.
Tavleen, did you have a brief comment there before I start taking closing comments? You were wanting to say something?
Yeah, I was disagreeing with Dilip, but Tehseen actually said what I was going to say. You cannot run away from elections, because you see, the real charge against this family is, especially since Sonia has taken over the Congress party, power without accountability. Now, if you are going to, and there's already rumors that they don't want to be prime minister, they don't really want to do, nobody believes that. I mean, we all know that Sonia was de facto prime minister of India for 10 years. And so what are we pretending about? It is a family business, the Congress party at the moment. So why run away from fighting the big fight, which is now?
Yeah. Okay, last comments. One thing both parties are doing right, and one thing both parties are doing terribly. I'll start with you, Sugata. What's working for the BJP at this point, and what's not working? And it doesn't have to be the narratives. What do you see as the pain points for the BJP, and what's working well for them?
See, the pain point for the BJP is, the numbers that they've set for themselves are too high. So they are trying to at least come closer to that. So I think they are pushing very hard. And the Congress, Barkha, frankly, on the ground, even in Karnataka, where I sort of live, they are clueless about what is happening. Each day they are being hit by a new argument, new sophistic argument, and they don't know how to respond. And I think that is taking away this whole thing from them. But actually, they had a lot. They're well-meaning. They raise the right kind of issues. They're closer to the people when it comes to issues, but they just don't know how to thrust it forward and put it there.
Tehseen, is communication the only problem, or part of the problem is Rahul Gandhi going off script? See, it's easy to pick on Sam Petroda, but the fact is that this entire business of a financial survey, these were comments made by Rahul Gandhi, not by Sam Petroda. These were not even made by Jairam Ramesh. This entire business of a Desh Ka X-ray was made by Rahul Gandhi. This entire slogan of quotas and reviving the quota debate is a Rahul Gandhi project. So is communication the only problem? Or is Rahul Gandhi on a script which is different from his party's?
I think it's a mixture of both. I think first of all, the Congress manifesto is a magnificent document. It's really, really a good document. And I want to compliment them. They actually did a very good job. And the problem is with the current communication department, they really can't articulate it. So to that extent, I agree completely. I'm stunned at having such a good manifesto, you're not being able to articulate it. Then comes Rahulji. I think what Rahulji tries to say, uh, he should speak about the issues with practical examples and with that. For example, when you talked about why you have to reimagine the caste equations and the resources of the country, why the X-ray, he should have spoken about Bihar and taken credit for the Bihar survey and said, look, there are even Brahmins here who are worse off. We have to give them justice. That would have got him. He could have played on the B. How would the BJP oppose it? What is the BJP going to do? He could have got these things in. So sometimes these become problematic issues. But the larger problem is the communication department of the Congress. That's the biggest problem. The Congress, unfortunately, Barkha, its communication department, its social media department, its even those who represent it have become trolls. So they only have an echo chamber. They don't want to hear another point of view. They only, so if I come on your show right now and I say, look, Modi is losing, khatam ho gaya, Modi ji is scared, I'm telling you the tweets I'll get will be praising me. But if there's another point of view with Tavleen and I disagree with the point of view, but you can learn from it, you can argue, you start abusing the person. It doesn't work like that because you're not in the position of power A, and it's not what the Congress DNA is. So the Congress itself doesn't know. Now, there's one last thing. There's the confusion that people from Congress are going to BJP. Yes, they are. But the BJP is very clear on what it stands for. That clarity gives the BJP a solid 20-22% of this is what the BJP stands for. 370 has to go, Ram Mandir has to build, Kashi has to come in, this has to come in. So the BJP, even if Tehseen, hypothetically, or Tavleen goes to the BJP doesn't fundamentally change what the BJP stands for. So that clarity, even if it's not articulated via manifesto, is absolutely there. The Congress already has the disadvantage. And then you have off-script remarks, and then you have very bad communication, and then you have Mr. Sam Petroda giving interviews. और मैं दोबारा से कह रहा हूं, सैम पेट्रोडा तो झांकी है, मनीशंकर अभी बाकी है. अब देखो ये, it will happen. He will talk.
Okay.
I think we've lost Barkha.
Okay, with either. Shall I go first, guys?
Yeah, you go first.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. So I think that in terms of damage, what is damaging the BJP, it is going to be Prajwal Revanna, Prajwal Revanna, Prajwal Revanna. In terms of what is damaging the Congress, it is the fact that bureaucracies produce great manifestos, but politicians need to be on the ground to actually produce great electoral results. And I think there is a problem of confusion and inadequate action. So those are my two headlines for the show.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Srinivas.
Tavleen?
Okay. I think that what the BJP is doing right, one, for a start, they have people on the ground. There is a party infrastructure. You know, when you ask Barkha, when you go into villages, there are people who are working for the BJP. I don't see anyone working for the Congress. So you can't win an election without boots on the ground. You need that campaign. The Congress has wasted 10 years by not building up the party. It has remained a Darbari party with people, with Priyanka and Rahul. Nobody is worried about that. And what the BJP is doing wrong, I believe, is this ridiculous communalization of at a time when really we don't need it. And so, that's my view.
Okay. We'll close there. Thankfully, despite patches of losing you all, I heard most of the conversation. Thank you for chipping in when you lost me. Somebody said in the audience, the fact that Barkha can do a show from a little village shows how much has improved and how much has changed. And I should also concede that I'm actually sitting here literally in the middle of nowhere with nothing behind me. It's just barren fields, and I'm able to do this show more or less. So yes, India is changing. But the only point I was trying to make was that for a lot of people, politics isn't the way we process it. It's about women having to walk 4 hours every day to bring back a bucket of water. And they're saying that irrespective of party, they're not making it about Modi and Congress. They're saying, hum nota karenge, nahi to jayenge hi nahi. So there's also that India whose stories have to be told as we all talk about all of these other fault lines. Thank you very much, Tehseen, Sugata, Dilip, Tavleen. Always a pleasure. And thank you very much, our audience, for being patient, especially with a little bit of patchy network. I am going to say thank you today. But do remember, our journey from Kanyakumari to Kashmir by road continues. It's helping us learn, and hopefully you're enjoying our journey with us. If you haven't already, do sign up to become a member of the community. The link is right below. Click on it and become a Mojo member. I look forward to getting to know all of you much better. Thank you for watching. See you. We're at the Indian mainland's southernmost tip in Kanyakumari, the confluence of the Bay of Bengal, the Arabian Sea, and the Indian Ocean. It is from here that we're beginning our big road trip to the heart and the soul of India, Dhabas of democracy. That's all about traveling thousands of kilometers to look at the food, the fun, the festivity, the flavors of this election, but also, of course, to tell the stories of you, the people, of we, the people. At Mojo Story, we have always gone to where the story is. It could be the battlefields of Israel and Gaza, it could be the conflict zone of Manipur, or it could be the sorrow and the tragedy of COVID. We think of all of you as members of our community, of our family. So, I'm urging you and requesting you today to help us tell your stories and our stories. So do become a Mojo member. Support and power our storytelling, but also get first access to our big interviews, our special ground reports, our town halls, and also have the opportunity to ask our newsmakers questions directly, as well as get published on our platform. Become a Mojo member. Click on the link